What really happened to Adolf Hitler's body after World War II remains one of the greatest mysteries of the 20th century. Imagine this, the most hated man in modern history, who once ruled half of Europe, vanished into thin air as the world waited to see his corpse. There were no public photos, no funeral, no body, just rumors, confusion, and whispers of a cover-up that lasted for decades. Was Hitler really dead, or did he escape the bunker and flee to another land? Tonight, we uncover the chilling truth behind one of history's most haunting questions. As the Red Army closed in on Berlin in April 1945, Adolf Hitler's dream of a 1,000-year Reich had crumbled into ashes. The city was burning, shells rained down, and the once mighty Führer was trapped deep beneath the Reich Chancellery in his secret bunker. Inside, he was surrounded by his closest aides, including Eva Braun, the woman who had stayed by his side until the very end. On April 29, 1945, Hitler and Eva were married in a brief, somber ceremony underground. But this wasn't a celebration of love, it was a farewell to life. Just one day later, on April 30, 1945, Hitler made his final decision. He ordered his staff to prepare gasoline. He then retreated to his private quarters with Eva Braun. Moments later, a gunshot echoed through the bunker. Hitler had shot himself in the right temple, while Eva took a cyanide capsule. The nightmare was over, or so everyone thought. His loyal aides rushed in. There on the couch lay the lifeless body of the dictator and his wife. Without wasting a moment, they wrapped the bodies in a gray blanket, carried them through the narrow bunker corridor, and out into the courtyard of the Reich Chancellery. As artillery shells exploded around them, they poured gasoline over the bodies and set them ablaze. Flames consumed the figures as those who had once called him their leader watched in silence. Within hours, only ashes remained, ashes that would spark decades of mystery, investigation, and conspiracy. When Soviet troops stormed Berlin days later, they found the bunker in ruins. But there was no complete body, no visible evidence of Hitler's remains. Stalin was informed that Hitler was dead, but he didn't believe it. He suspected that the Führer might have escaped, perhaps to Spain, or even to South America. And so the search began. The Soviets scoured the bunker and surrounding gardens, collecting charred bones, teeth, and skull fragments. What they found was shocking, a piece of a lower jaw with several teeth still attached. Soviet forensic experts compared these remains with Hitler's dental records, and to their surprise, they matched perfectly. The jawbone confirmed that Hitler had indeed died in the bunker, but the world never saw the evidence. Stalin, in a move that would fuel endless conspiracy theories, decided to keep the truth hidden. For years, Soviet officials released contradictory statements, sometimes claiming Hitler's body had been found, other times saying he had escaped. This confusion only deepened the mystery. Western powers, including the United States and Britain, demanded proof, but Stalin refused to cooperate. The body, or what was left of it, was secretly taken to Magdeburg, East Germany, by Soviet intelligence agents. There it was buried in an unmarked grave along with the remains of Goebbels and other Nazi officials. In 1970, when Soviet forces prepared to leave Magdeburg, they decided to destroy the graves completely. According to secret KGB documents, the remains were exhumed, burned once again, and the ashes scattered into the Elbe River. The only part preserved was the jawbone and the skull fragment, locked away in Moscow's archives. For decades, these pieces remained hidden, shown only to a handful of Soviet scientists. Then came the twist. In 2000, the Russians displayed what they claimed was Hitler's skull, with a bullet hole in it, at an exhibition in Moscow. For many, this was the ultimate proof. But in 2009, American researchers were allowed to test the skull fragment. The results were shocking. The skull belonged not to a 56-year-old man, but to a young woman. The world was stunned. Had the Soviets preserved the wrong skull all these years? If so, what really happened to Hitler's remains? Was the entire story a Soviet fabrication? The answer lies in the teeth. In 2018, French forensic scientists were finally granted access to Hitler's jawbone and dental bridges, the same ones recovered in 1945. After thorough examination, they concluded that the remains indeed belonged to Adolf Hitler. The teeth matched perfectly with historical dental records. Moreover, traces of cyanide were found, confirming Eva Braun's suicide method and possibly hinting that Hitler also bit into a cyanide capsule before shooting himself. This evidence finally put to rest most serious doubts about Hitler's death. Yet, even with proof, the world's fascination with Hitler's disappearance never faded. In the years after the war, rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed he escaped to Argentina, living secretly in the Andes under a new identity. Others swore they saw him in Spain or even Antarctica, where secret Nazi bases were said to exist. Declassified CIA and FBI documents revealed reports from informants claiming to have seen Hitler alive. Though none of these were proven true, they added fuel to the mystery, giving rise to countless books, documentaries, and conspiracy theories. But the truth, though less dramatic, is even more haunting. The man who once demanded monuments to himself, who dreamed of eternal glory, left behind nothing, not even a grave. No tomb, no shrine, no final resting place. Only ashes scattered in a river, lost forever. It was a fitting end for someone who brought so much death and destruction to the world. Still, the secrecy surrounding his remains has always felt deliberate. Stalin used it to his advantage, sowing confusion among the Allies and keeping the myth of Hitler alive for political gain. By never officially confirming his death, Stalin made sure that the world's attention stayed divided, and that Nazi remnants in Europe would never regroup under a hidden leader. Today, historians agree that Hitler died in the bunker on April 30th, 1945. But what followed, the burning, the burial, the destruction, turned his death into a ghost story that refused to die. The missing body became a symbol, an open wound in world history. It showed how lies, secrecy, and fear can twist reality even in the face of undeniable facts. And perhaps that's why this mystery still captivates people. Because it is not just about what happened to a body, it is about how truth itself can disappear when buried beneath politics, propaganda, and time. Every rumor of Hitler's escape was more than just fantasy. It was a reflection of the world's refusal to believe that such a powerful monster could truly be gone. Even now, nearly 8 decades later, people continue to debate, to imagine, to question. But the final truth remains this. In the last days of April 1945, trapped beneath a crumbling empire, Adolf Hitler chose to end his life rather than face justice. His followers burned his corpse, the Soviets hid his remains. And history turned him into a shadow, a reminder that evil, no matter how great, always ends in nothingness. And that's what makes his story both terrifying and fascinating. The world wanted closure. Instead, it got a mystery. A dictator's corpse vanished, and with it, the proof of his defeat, leaving behind only questions, ashes, and the haunting echo of a war that changed humanity forever. So the next time you hear a theory about Hitler's escape, remember this. Truth often burns quietly while lies roar for decades. The real end of Adolf Hitler was not in a hidden paradise, but in a bunker buried beneath Berlin's rubble, where his empire of hate finally turned to dust. That is the chilling truth of what really happened to Hitler's body.